What's it like on the inside of the music business? We got Scott Frazier today on the Music Universe podcast.
Well, Matt, how are you in DC?
I am great. It is warm here in DC, warming up. You know, I was just in Las Vegas. I like to torture him because he refuses to go to Las Vegas until we go see Garth. But I go about every month.
A trip has come up
to cover shows. Yes, a trip has come up for you in March, and I'm not joining you for that one, as far as you know. And so I just got back from Vegas. I have a point here. It was 48 degrees, and it was cold. Here it's 48 degrees, and it's warm. Thank you, Swampland. So,
yeah,
the humidity here makes it just perfect.
And you know me, I'm about 2 hours, hour and a half or so from LA, and I was just there the day before we're recording this, and it felt great. It's like, oh my gosh. And then you can hit over the mountains, and it's a little chillier. So it's always good sometimes to get out. And don't hold that against me. Don't use that for any reason against me whenever I say no to a trip. I have to watch what I say, especially when we're recording.
I just have to see.
Play it back.
I just have to see if I can get you out to Nashville this year. We got you to Nashville once last year, so we'll see.
I mean, you know, Garth is opening his bar hopefully this year, so
we'll see.
I do plan to hopefully cover that if that happens. So we'll address that when that time comes.
Well, today we're talking with one of the movers and shakers of the music business. His name is Scott Frazier, and he works with 10th Street Management. And his client right now, his sole focus, is the social media sensation Bailey Zimmerman.
Yeah, so the Illinois native is actually going out on the road with Morgan Wallen for his 2023 One Night at a Time World Tour. Now, here's the great part about that. It actually kicks off down under and in New Zealand before it hits stateside here in April. It's 39 cities, and he's going to be across the world performing with Morgan Wallen. Zimmerman has been on the end of the year list for many major publications last year. He's had 1.4 billion streams to date, and I'm sure that's risen since we've recorded this. But he had a record-shattering debut EP with Leave the Light On, and he's just making history as this new TikTok emerging artist continues to climb charts.
And it's so fun because we actually don't talk a lot about Bailey specifically with Scott, but we do talk about those dynamics. So it's a really interesting interview. Here we go. Scott Frazier, welcome to the Music Universe podcast. How are you today, sir?
Man, doing well. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. You are working with one of the reddest, hottest talents right now, Bailey Zimmerman, but that's been your entire career, working with some of the biggest acts in rock music, and now you're switching over to country. Tell us a little bit about how you began in artist management.
Wow, that's a crazy one. So that goes back 20-something years, but in the early days, I really pursued the music business because my brother, you know, those kids you see on TV, they're just prolific piano players, drummers, etc. When I was a kid, my brother had this gift, and I was just always like, man. And I don't know, maybe the time I was in middle school, I really started to identify like, man, my brother's really got something. And so all middle school, high school, it was always, I'm going to get you a record deal someday, man. I'm going to be your manager. And I had no clue what that meant. And then fast forward my senior year of high school, you know, I'm still a young man and going, okay, am I going to college? Am I really going to do this thing? And I remember telling my dad that I was going to join the Marine Corps because I figured with that title, that would give me some kind of, I don't know, edge as pursuing this music business. And I did that, worked in corporate America for 10 years. And then the rest is history, man. I've got my brother signed to Atlantic with Jason Flom back in the day. And right around the same time that I found a band from my hometown called Flaw, and really haven't looked back since.
Very cool. Very, very cool. How did you get connected with, let's take one of the rock acts that you've worked with first, How'd you get connected with Motley Crue?
So Molly Crew is an inadvertent connection, I guess you could say, because I ran my own company for 17 years, and then I merged with 10th Street.
Yeah.
And as part of that venture with 10th Street, obviously they boast some of the biggest acts. One of them being Motley Crue. So as far as like me personally managing them, no, but the company, yes.
Oh, very cool. Very, very cool. And now you are opening up this office in Nashville. How has that transition been like, going from rock and roll to country for you?
You know, it's funny. I make jokes about it because I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky, and have managed to stay there my whole career. So I always used to say that, well, at least I'm close enough to Nashville.
Yeah.
But yeah, I pursued rock for so long, but I was always pursuing country too, because I'm really a multi-genre guy. I tried to sign Jack Harlow. I was on that kid in 2016, and everybody told me I was crazy. But yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, his rap career blew up, but so is Bailey Zimmerman's. I mean, he's had a record shattering debut EP. Why country music? Why country now?
So I had been trying for so long to do, I got really close a couple of times over the years of doing a deal. Oddly enough with Warner, who we are with now, but got really close a couple of times, just never could get over the hump of that right act that made sense. And it actually started first with a duo that I found after Midtown. And I approached Chief Zaruk, who he and I have known each other for 20 years. He was tour managing Nickelback back in the day when I had Saving Abel, and I knew that he had transitioned from the rock space into country, and it just seemed like a likely scenario for me to reach out to him. And he loved what I brought to the table. And then 6 months later, I'm sitting on my couch, scrolling TikTok, and Bailey Zimmerman came across my feed, and we knew we had something with this kid, but you just never know. I mean, you guys know, have been doing this. It's like you can think you've got the next, stairway to heaven, and then you put it out and it doesn't resonate. But this just connected in such a huge way, and we couldn't be more proud.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, he ended 2022 as just some of the stats. I mean, number 2 top new country artist, number 4 top new artist across all genres, number 3 on TikTok's emerging artists, and so many more. I mean, he's made a lot of publications best of the year list, and I mean, he's just really taken off, and he's actually with Morgan Wallen this year, and New Zealand and Australia. Wow, he's really gone international.
To kick it off. Yeah, it's funny. People hear Australia and they're like, wait, I didn't know Australia had a country thing. And then I go, well, yeah, but Keith Urban. And they go, oh, yeah. So
Keith Urban, Jamie O'Neill,
exactly.
There's a lot of parallels there. I want to ask you, in this day and age of TikTok, okay, in this day and age of social media, is it hard? And you mentioned Jack Harlow and kind of being ahead of the curve there. Is it hard as a manager to stay ahead of what's going to pop versus what is going to fizzle out when there's so much content available for people to sort of design their own world around? I might like artists you don't like and might not ever get a mainstream audience. And then there are some like Bailey and Warren Ziders and Cooper Allen that really break through. Is it difficult to stay ahead of that curve?
I said something to a colleague and friend of mine. I said, especially with everybody, because look, I'm not the only one that scoured those sites and looking. And I think it's one of those things where you have to trust your instincts. You have to be like, okay, this is like the old school. Like, it wasn't about in the back in the day, you didn't have social media, you didn't have it all. So it's like you hear something that's a voice that cuts through, or the song or whatnot. I'm a vocal guy first. I'm always looking for that voice that cuts through the noise, and then obviously song. But song and voice are so important, but you can't teach that voice. And to me, that's how I do it. I go after something that I think will break through. I mean, obviously they got to be great songs too, but when you have a voice that you can put on the radio or you hear it in a shopping mart and you're like, oh, I know exactly who that is because you know, Neil Young, they all had those certain things about their voice that you knew exactly who that was. And Bailey's like that too.
Yeah. Now, given that the internet is what it is and there's a lot of spam accounts and a lot of fraud out there, how do you go about contacting someone on TikTok saying, hey, let's work together, let's do this? I mean, you know, not giving industry secrets, but
Yeah,
I would think if someone reached out, I'd be a little hesitant, like, whoa, where are we going here?
That's a very funny, it's actually a funny answer because that actually happened with Bailey because I DM'd him on Instagram and here it is, 53-year-old dude, DM at a 20-year-old. It's like creeper alert, creeper alert, you know. But no, I reached out to him and I have it down in such a way that it doesn't sound like you're fishing for some, you know, whatever. It's just the way that I communicate it, and you let them know who you work with and what you've done, and you kind of leave it loose, like, hey, if you want to talk about your future, hit me back, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bailey told me he almost did not call me back. And this is funny. He said, and this is how young people think. He said, because you didn't have a blue check mark, dude. and I'm like, well, our company does, but it's like, why the hell would I give a shit about a dad going? But that's how they view it, man. Everything is that blue, you know, blue check mark or whatnot.
Well, and now even that's going to get trickier because Meta is taking Elon's lead, and now everybody can buy their check marks. So
exactly,
you know, it's. I think it comes down to trusting the content of the message, and it's very clear Bailey did that. So
yeah.
when you linked up with him, did things start happening very, very quickly?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, so actually we reached out to him. I then reached out to Chief and Simon, who are my partners, with me and Chris Nilsson, and I said, hey guys, I said, no, this is gonna sound crazy, but I think I found another one. And I brought him. They're like, really? But that was us having that strategic partnership has actually been a really good thing because it's like it takes a village concept, and I found that we've really been able to do that.
Yeah. How important when you are scouting for artists, you mentioned the voice, is the fan response? Because if I can tell a quick story here before you answer, I went to see, right as he was signed, I went to see a young Warren Zeiders, who's also a social media guy. And it was at a 300-seat venue here in Alexandria, outside of DC. And you'd have thought it was an arena. And it was just a man and a guitar. And you'd have thought the man was in an arena. And I'm like, you know, if I was a record label executive sitting in that crowd, I'd offer him $1 million tonight. This man is a future Hall of Famer. So
that's exactly how it was with Bailey.
Yeah.
That's exactly the same scenario, man. You asked how quick it went. It's like literally, I reached out to Chief and Simon. They said, yeah, let's do it. We were going to put Bailey in to do the typical like writers rounds, do that kind of thing, and just kind of do his things that you need to do to build in Nashville. And again, I reached out to old friend of mine, Jason Flom. I just was sitting on my couch one night and I said, you know, I bet Jason would love this kid, even though he traditionally doesn't sign country acts. And sure enough, he did. He literally threw down a deal the next day, and that consequently turned into a bidding situation between Warner and Universal, of which obviously we went with Warner Nashville and Elektra. But it was really remarkable, and it did happen really quick. And then you know, his social numbers we did it really smart. We did not announce that we signed a deal for a long time. We kept it, even though we had already inked the deal, we still kept it like hush, so that we actually created a vanity label so that it just had the perception that it was still organic and Bailey, and we still continue to build that to kind of go away from the haters, if you will. You know, they always think you sell out.
Yeah. Yeah. So are you noticing then that for a lot of independent artists, I know it's different with Bailey, but for a lot of these artists that get their own following, maybe they don't want a label deal or don't want it as quickly as maybe it could come because they don't want to burn out. How are you looking at how are artists looking at labels today versus maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago?
I mean, if you're looking for radio and you need that, I mean, honestly, radio is still king
Yeah.
in my opinion. But if you're looking for that, then I think that you definitely need a label partner at some point. Maybe not immediately, but that's the key factor. And you can do it independently, but when it comes time to like, okay, we're ready to take this to radio, then what do you do? So it's got its pros and its cons. I mean, you absolutely can make a fortune doing it independently. It just really depends the trajectory.
Right.
I think eventually you're going to need a bigger partner.
Exactly.
Yeah, like artists like Zach Bryan, who are adamant that they're staying, organic and pretty much independent, are on labels like Warner, and they're really making a big impact and have
There
a
are.
huge following.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think you would agree it's not the same. That's not the norm. But it sure looks awesome when it happens.
No, this is kind of a general question, but maybe I don't even know what I mean when I ask it, but where do you see all of this going? All of this, fans finding them first, getting to a label, getting the radio play. Where do you see social media taking this part of the music industry as you have been working with Bailey? Where do you see it going?
Well, right now, everybody's the thing is TikTok. It's like, let's take advantage of TikTok, but there's going to be another TikTok. But I'm a kid for utilizing those tools because it really opens up the portal of like, do my fans like what they're hearing and what I'm giving them? Are they feeling it?
Well, but I know we're getting short on time, but before we let you go, do you have anyone else that you want to introduce us to coming up?
Yeah, so crazy enough, I have 5 children, and my youngest are 18-year-old twin boys. One of my twins came to me about, I don't know, 6 months ago and said, "Hey, Dad, I found this kid. His name is Lacade. It's Lecade, Lacade." And said, "Dad, I found this kid. He's from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. He's really good." And I loved it. We signed it, and we are in the process, as we speak, of negotiating a deal with a major, which we'll be announcing very soon. So my son's first at bat, he brings a great artist. So yeah, I'm real excited about him. And as far as any other artist, I mean, I'm always looking, but with what's going on with Bailey and his career, it would have to be something so remarkable for me to, pick up another client at the moment.
So with
just
Bailey,
because of the bandwidth.
Just to sort of close on this for people who are wondering and are listening and might be wondering, aside from the Morgan Wallen tour and what you guys are kicking off in Australia, will there be any domestic solo headlining dates coming up?
Yeah, we're already discussing that. We're targeting 2024 as really our big push for that.
Cool.
Now we've done a few markets. I think it was like 10 or 12 markets that we did with Bailey as a headliner, just to see if he could establish some hard ticket value, and he obviously did. I mean, we were selling out 3,000 cap rooms and doing it in less than 20 minutes, which is pretty remarkable.
Wow.
So yeah, short answer is 2024 is looking to be headlining Bailey dates along with some fests.
That's awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Scott Frazier, a pleasure to.
Congrats on all the success. We look forward to Lacade and everybody else coming out as well.
I appreciate it, gentlemen. This has been awesome. I'm actually enjoying some sunshine in Los Angeles today, which is a lot better than where I came from. You guys have an awesome day.
You too. Take care.
Take care.
All right, gentlemen. See you.
Bye. So Bailey's current single, "Rockin' a Hard Place," it's in the top 10 country radio. And like I said, he's just having massive success. So congrats to him. Congrats to Scott and everyone at the management firm.
Yep. Congrats to everybody. It's going to be a great run, and I can't wait till the tour comes stateside. And as you heard there in 2024, more from Bailey specifically as a headliner. So more to follow. For the Music Universe podcast, I'm Matt.
And I'm Buddy. Thanks for listening and watching. Be sure to hit that like, subscribe, and share button. And be sure to check us out at themusicuniverse.com, tmupod.com, and on social media at The Music Uni. Take care.